Aiden Fucci's mental health. Will it be an issue at his sentencing for the horrific murder of Tristyn Bailey? An expert weighs in. I'm Angenette Levy, and welcome back to Sidebar here on Law and Crime. Aiden Fucci is the teenage boy, 16 years old, who pleaded guilty earlier this week to murdering Tristyn Bailey, that 13-year-old cheerleader. This is a horrific, horrific case. Fucci has admitted to stabbing Tristyn Bailey 114 times. And on Monday, when he changed his plea on the morning of what was supposed to be jury selection in his trial, he talked about some medications that he is taking when the judge asked him. Take a listen.
Are you under the influence of any medication, drugs, or alcohol right now?
Yes, sir, my medication, but...
What type of medication are you taking?
Remeron, lithium, and Cyprexa.
Is that medication prescribed by a physician?
Yes, sir.
And does that medication assist you in your ability to understand what's happening and going on around you?
Yes, sir.
Have you taken that medication today as prescribed by your physician?
Last night, sir.
Last night, is that when you were scheduled to take it?
Yes, sir.
All right. And is it in any way, shape, or form affecting your ability to understand what's going on here this morning?
No, Your Honor.
Do you feel clear-headed and clear-minded about what's going on here today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you ever been diagnosed with a mental health condition that could affect your ability to understand and comprehend what's going on today?
No, I don't believe so.
Joining me to discuss these medications and how the mental health conditions that Aiden Fucci is being treated for might impact his sentencing is Dr. Robi Ludwig. She's a psychologist and an author. Dr. Ludwig, welcome here to Sidebar. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited to have you. I've been watching you for years, and I'm really interested to get your perspective on this. We heard Aiden Fucci talk about 3 medications that he is using right now. He's being prescribed these medications by a physician. They are Remeron, lithium, and Zyprexa. I know about lithium, but let's talk about those medications and what they might be being used to treat.
It's such a good question. So lithium is a mood stabilizer. Remeron is an antidepressant. And the third medication that you mentioned, Zyprexa, can be used for either a thought disorder or a mood disorder. So it could be used for schizophrenia, it could be used for bipolar disorder. There's also something called schizoaffective disorder, and that's a combination of both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. So I wonder if the lawyers are trying to introduce that he has a severe mental illness, and perhaps if he does have, let's say, schizoaffective disorder, both a thought disorder and a mood disorder, was he hearing voices that somehow told him to stab this girl? Because it seems like it was an overkill given the amount of stabs that this girl, that he inflicted on this poor girl. It's not typical, right, for somebody who doesn't really know someone to have this kind of rage overkill, if you will. So it does raise those questions. Is there something about his mental health we don't know, like he was psychotic at the time of the murders?
Mm-hmm. Well, he's pleaded guilty. So he got no deal. His attorney said every offer they made to the prosecution was rejected. So he went in and pleaded guilty to just straight murder. He faces anywhere from 40 years, that's a minimum, to life in prison. So it doesn't sound like the prosecution at least believed that he was psychotic, or that his defense attorneys believed he was psychotic at the time of the murders. So this was an intentional act, something that sounds like it was thought out. What does that tell you about him, even if he does suffer from something like bipolar disorder or depression?
Well, we know that there are many people who have schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, schizoaffective disorder. I have many of these clients in my own practice, and they're not violent, nor would they hurt anyone. But it does suggest that this person is not well. perhaps didn't have proper impulse control. Maybe he was irritable and depressed and rageful during the times of the crime. There could be something called a character disorder where he had boundary issues. Maybe he thought this woman was a girlfriend and she wasn't, kind of bordering on a delusional idea about this girl. I just don't have enough information about his psychiatric history, and he's young. So it could be this is an initial break that he experienced. I would really need to learn more, but it's disturbing to hear he's on so many medications, and he wouldn't be on these many medications if there wasn't a psychiatric reason for it.
What do you expect his defense to argue at sentencing? Obviously, minimum of 40 years. He could be, as a juvenile, eligible for some type of review at 25 years. That's some information we learned yesterday. So do you say, look, he needs treatment, he needs this, he needs that, he could, his condition could improve in so many years. He'll be 56 or so, maybe 55 when he comes up for any type of consideration for parole.
Well, he is a juvenile, right? And I know that certain cases, young kids are tried as adults because of the nature of the crime and the cruelty. But he is young and he does have a psychiatric history, and we don't know what his background is. So it's very possible that his lawyers at some point could say he was young, undeveloped, wasn't being treated properly, and it resulted in these crimes. And now, due to good behavior and getting the proper treatment, he's not a danger to himself or others. But it just sounds the cruelty of the crime. That's not going to happen anytime soon. So that may happen down the road. But I guess we'll see. But it's very tragic, just all the way around, because he's sick and he behaved in a depraved way. And really 2 lives were lost as a result of this crime.
And you said that it's disturbing that he is on so many medications. So at this age, that tells you there are some serious things going on. I mean, I think we can kind of glean that just from the nature of the crime.
Yeah. So, this is a sick kid. This is a kid who has a severe mood disorder. And he's young, so he doesn't have that developed cause and effect in his brain. He could be potentially schizophrenic due to the Zyprexa, we don't know, or schizoaffective. So this is somebody who was battling a lot of different extreme emotions, perhaps even a thought disorder or a character disorder that completely influenced how he experienced himself and others around him. This is not an excuse, obviously. He behaved in an unacceptable, dangerous way. And if you're dangerous, you're dangerous. But one wonders, was he doing drugs? Was he taking his medication properly? Like, what was really going on with this kid that he had this moment in time with his victim?
Yeah, definitely not an excuse. We can get explanations a lot of times in these cases, but never is it an excuse for something like this. Dr. Robi Ludwig, thank you so much for coming on and offering your time and expertise. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we hope you'll come back.
I would love to.
And that's it for this edition of Law and Crime Sidebar podcast. It is produced by Sam Goldberg and Michael Deininger. Bobby Szoke is our YouTube manager. Alyssa Fisher is our booking producer, and Kiara Bronson handles our social media. You can listen to and download Sidebar on Apple, Spotify, Google, and wherever else you get your podcasts. And of course, you can always watch it on Law and Crime's YouTube channel. I'm Angenette Levy, and we will see you next time.